The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash, a roundtable of Cowboys insiders dropping wisdom and offering sizzling takes on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys. Now, your host, Newy Scruggs.
All right, let's ride. Media Mash coming to you from the Star in Frisco, the SWBC Podcast Studios. Hi, everybody. I am Newy Scruggs, along with Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star Telegram and the Hall of Famer. He is Ed Werder. It was, I don't know, maybe it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I was doing some early morning reading, and I'm like, whoa, alert.
I slept till 8.
I'm like, oh.
What a morning to do that, right?
Yes.
And I got a text from somebody who runs a local radio station who wanted to know, who do you recommend we talk to from the Steelers? And I was like, oh, my God, they must have signed Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, Ed. No, they made a trade for Carl Pickens. The Cowboys will send
Carl Pickens.
Carl, yeah, who once played here.
Yeah.
Hence your confusion.
Yes, who once played here. Why do people call me when they know I got a phone? I mean, they know I got a show at this time. I hate when people do that. I'm going to turn that off.
Hey, look at this. That's crazy.
That's because I just posted on Twitter that you guys are on this show, so now people want to know how they can find it.
Just so you know, Nick, that person consistently will call me at 6:15 when I'm doing TV.
I've only gotten 3 phone calls from this person, and one was at midnight, the other one just now, and another one at another inopportune time. He's got an ability there.
Okay, Ed, anybody trying to get a hold of you over there?
Not right at the moment, no. My sources are all talking to you guys, apparently.
So George Pickens coming to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to send a 3rd-round pick in 2026 and a 2027 5th-round pick to the Steelers. Steelers sending back a 6th-round pick here. I'll start with you, Ed. Your thoughts on this trade?
Not shocking in that we knew that the biggest hole on the roster was for a number 2 receiver opposite CeeDee Lamb, who, if you look at the numbers, the biggest disparity in all of football in the NFL in terms of receiving yards is that between CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys' next best receiver, Jake Ferguson. It's like the biggest gulf in the NFL. Everybody else has their top 2 receivers are way closer in terms of productivity than that. The thing that's interesting to me is you got a first-time head coach in Brian Schottenheimer, a very experienced coach overall in general. But now while he gets a player that they're investing in him in a way they didn't Mike McCarthy, he also now has to manage a player who can be difficult even within a game, let alone during the course of a season or in the locker room during the week. Like, he may not be eligible at the end of the game or at some point during the game. I think he's the 2nd most penalized receiver in the NFL the last 3 years. But he's a dynamic player, a big-time playmaker. I mean, I asked somebody here why they did it. Said they found a player that makes him more dynamic, causes defense problems, called him a big, talented wide receiver who can win one-on-one, rare body control, excellent ball skills, competitive as hell, and loves football.
From a football standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you look at what George Pickens can do as an outside receiver, the type of routes he's had most success with, and how that lines up with his now quarterback in Dak Prescott. From a football perspective, it's hard to find anything that is a negative here. It's off the field. That's where the risk comes into play, and you're assuming all of this headache.
It's really
that
on the
happened
field
in Pittsburgh. There's on the field too. Yeah, absolutely. The off the field translates onto the field too, and you wonder how that's going to work in a culture here that Brian Schottenheimer's been trying to build over the last couple of months. It's like, hey, culture first. That'll help translate to wins. It's like you potentially just throw a really bad apple into that. Talking to some people in Pittsburgh and then talking to a player for the Steelers this morning, trying to get some more context on George Pickens. This is a guy that is viewed as it was told to me that he's kind of like the bad kid in class where the teachers hate him but all the kids love him, and he's respected in the locker room. He has a lot of friends that are teammates of his from the Steelers days, but it was the run-ins with the coaches, it was the headbutting with the coaches in front office, and they felt like they were heading towards a crossroads this offseason where they either had to pay him or trade him, and so they went ahead and got ahead of that and got compensation for it before other teams started to realize that they were pinned up against the wall with him.
And Mike Tomlin's a pretty highly regarded coach who seems to get along extremely well with most players, so you have to question whether this immature behavior or unprofessional conduct is something that can be coached out of him in a situation that he faces now, which is now he's got to prove he's a $30 million receiver here.
Yeah. And that's another fascinating aspect of it is you bring him in, he's on an expiring contract. Do you get the deal done now, or do you take the risk of the 1-year rental and potentially he's worth $30 million next year, Ed, and then your pockets are getting a little bit even more thin, knowing that Tyler Smith is on the horizon, Deron Bland, Jake Ferguson. If you want to keep these guys around, George Pickens now factors into that in a very big way.
My first thought was, okay, a 3rd-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Those are valuable. Day 2 pick. Was it too much or was it just right, Nick?
Time will tell. From a football perspective, I think it's just right. But if the things off the field, the character concerns really start to manifest here, then that's going to look back and you're not going to love the compensation there. I will give the Cowboys credit. They're taking a risk here. They're taking a chance. And I don't think you can discredit them for that down the line. But how exactly we look back on this with hindsight being 2020, I'm not 100% sure. But as we sit right now, what is it, May 7th, 2025, I give the Cowboys front office credit for at least taking the chance, because I think that's what we've been parading over the course of the last few years is like, just take the chance on somebody. Go ahead and spend that draft capital, see what happens. And this has the potential to actually be an underpay if he performs to the level of we know he's capable of. But it also definitely has the potential to be an overpay. There's a wide range right there.
It's a bold move, right? And it's one that suggests that at least internally they think they can win now. Like, you don't do this if you're not trying to win the division right now.
Yeah.
No matter, we've talked all along about how they've done nothing but lose ground to Philadelphia, the defending Super Bowl champs, and the Washington Commanders. This move narrows that gap in my mind. I mean, because this is something they had to have if they're going to be an elite offense. They haven't had it since what? They had Amari Cooper or healthy Michael Gallup playing there. I mean, this they effectively have 2 number 1 receivers again. Like, if you talk about CeeDee Lamb, if he goes out, can this guy elevate and be a 1? Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. He's done it. He's been that in Pittsburgh. And beside the being motivated for the financial payoff at the end of the year and securing a long-term big money guaranteed contract, like, he gets to play with the best quarterback by far he's played with. I mean, the numbers he's put up are pretty amazing given he's played with 3 different quarterbacks in Pittsburgh, and none of them have played at an elite level.
No.
Could I propose a question? I don't want to take your
No.
4 years, $100 million. He says, I'll sign it today. Do you do it, knowing the risk involved?
I want to see him on the field first.
I'll
risk that I have to pay him $30 million.
And knowing Jerry, he would say the same thing. Knowing Jerry, he would say the same.
He's saying that about Micah Parsons.
Exactly.
So if you're going to say that about Micah Parsons, you got to say it about Pickens.
Stay in that realm here. So Brian Schottenheimer's gone out and said, they want a certain type of guy. Ed, you and I were here when Bill Parcells was around, and Bill came in and said that same thing. But then Bill would also kind of contradict himself and say, "Say the Boy Scouts, fellas."
T.O. looks nice.
So I always took that as, if your talent outweighs your problems, I'll deal with you with Parcells. Thus, Lawrence Taylor. Thus, when we saw Antonio Bryant get escorted out of the building because he threw a jersey in Bill's face. And so that's what I think about with Pickens right now is they have this of what they want, but you know what? We'll make an exception here, and we got to make an exception.
Well, the Steelers decided he wasn't worth it anymore. That's why he was available.
Yeah, but the Cowboys are saying, we'll give it 3 because you know what?
We can get it back as a comp pick if he goes somewhere.
We need a number 2.
You think he'd sign a contract that rich, though, if it didn't work out? For it to be a 3rd-round type compensatory pick? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it would probably be closer to a 5th or a 6th. It just depends on the contract.
So it's the gamble. It's the gamble. But I think if you're a Cowboy fan, you have to be happy because you didn't get what you wanted in the draft, and you get a guy who's got number 1 experience, who's played in this league that you can put in on the other side of CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys gave the fans what they wanted, essentially, in my opinion. And Jerry talked about making a deal, and here's that deal.
And I assume this is what Brian Schottenheimer wanted and what Dak Prescott wanted. And whether they can manage him effectively remains to be seen. I'm sure a lot of that's going to fall on Dak, right? I mean, you don't have a very experienced wide receivers coach. You have an inexperienced head coach. And I don't see CeeDee Lamb getting in his face and telling him how to act in a professional manner. So it's going to fall to Dak. But like you said, I mean, it's a perfect marriage in terms of the way Dak likes to play the position, the vertical ability of this player. You know, he can high point the ball, makes contested catches, he scores in the red zone. Dak loves throwing the go ball. This guy's as good as there is in the league at that.
I think you have, the more I talk about it, and I'm glad I got you guys here to bounce these things off. I went from saying, man, 3 is a lot, to looking up the statistics of the player and seeing like, okay, this is a really good football player. You needed a number 2. He was playing in Pittsburgh as a number 1. This is the kind of risk you take.
Yeah.
You take a risk like this.
Now we know why they let Jordan Lewis go.
This was the plan all along. His tweet this morning cracked me up.
Yeah.
He I will miss him.
Yeah.
I'll miss
Because
him.
he got in the guy's face after the game in Pittsburgh last year and said some unflattering things about him, and then he winds up saying today, I guess God knew what he was doing or something.
Yeah, God knew what he was doing and putting me in Jacksonville. I think that's what he said.
Yeah. And Ed, I think you bring up a really good point about who's the person that reaches George Pickens. You need that. And I go back to it's before your time, Nick. Randy Moss. When the Cowboys didn't take him, and Jerry's like, we can't take him because our locker room looks like. And he ends up in Minnesota with Dennis Green. They've got Chris Carter and they've got Jake Reed. And Randy Moss was they took him under their wing and they really helped him. And thus Randy went on and have an amazing rookie year on his way to a Hall of Fame career. And you bring up Dak Prescott here. I just wonder who else can get to Pickens and let him know, man, you got 2 things going on here. One, you can get yourself a big old contract because if you have a great year, Jerry, we know Jerry don't let the stars go. You come up here performing like a star, Jerry will pay you. Jerry loves the stars.
Especially offensive stars.
Yes. And 2, this is the big top, man. This is the stage you want to be on. You're going to be on NBC 3 times. You're going to be on Monday Night Football. You're going to play on Thanksgiving Day.
Nice plug.
You want all the you want all the smoke. You want the shine, and that people look at you and say, "Hey, you had a great year. We want to sign to a big old contract." But we've seen so many players, Nick, leave here who've come here and they've gone other places because people see them and they're on TV. This is a good opportunity for this young man.
Yeah, it is. And you wonder how different his approach will be arriving in Dallas versus how it ended in Pittsburgh. Because like I mentioned earlier, he was prepared to put that front office at a crossroads this offseason. Does he have that same approach coming into here? You know, the initial indications are no, but what does that look like? What does that look like for Pickens? What does that look like for the front office, the coaching staff, Dak Prescott? All of a sudden, he's got an issue that he has to handle in Pickens as well. It's not going to be smooth sailing, best case scenario. So there's going to be a lot, and you still have an emotional CeeDee Lamb too. I'm not saying that it's to the level of George Pickens, but there's a high probability you have 2 receivers throwing fits on the sideline at any given time.
And CeeDee's already talked about the way he's gone about that in the past, right? In San Francisco a few years ago,
yes.
Bad body language.
Baltimore last year, yeah.
And he apologized for it, and he's done it. He said what he believes, but he does it in a better way now. Yeah. The thing with the dynamic between Dak and Pickens is like Dak's the established leader on this football team, and Dak won't be afraid to get in his face if necessary. And Dak has the thing that Pickens needs. He has the ball.
We'll take our first break. When we come back, a lot of excitement about a duo here between Lamb and Pickens.
Does Jerry know the agent's name yet?
I'll let you discover that, Ed. But if they're a running team, how happy can these guys be? Because Brian Schottenheimer says he wants to be a running football team. We'll do that next with Ed, Nick, I'm Newy. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the cruise. The Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof backpacks. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take a steak, cornbread, cobbler's pot pie, and potatoes and next level with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
This is Nate Newton from Hanging with the Boys, and Wingstop is here to bring the flavor to game day as the official wings of the Dallas Cowboys. Order now by downloading the Wingstop app or ordering online at wingstop.com.
Hey, Cowboys fans, a 2024 football season is here, and SeatGeek is here to help you experience all the action. SeatGeek makes it easy to find tickets so you can be a part of all the touchdown celebrations this season. Whether you're buying or selling tickets to Cowboys football games or to any other live event, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Dallas Cowboys. The most disruptive idea in ticketing? A ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. They sure make game day special, and for every purchase of the new Tyson Cowboys Nuggets this holiday season, Tyson Foods will donate $1 to the Salvation Army up to $100,000. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash right here at DallasCowboys.com. We are here at the Star in Frisco at Werder and Karras. I'm Newy Scruggs. All right, Nick, what are you hearing on your and reading on your social media channels here from fans about this trade?
There seems to be a lot of excitement. There's always going to be the pessimists with this fan base, but there seems to be a lot of excitement. Honestly, more excitement than I expected. I thought there would be a little bit more backlash from hey, we could have gotten a guy that doesn't have the character concerns type approach, but it seems that fans are pretty excited about this, and rightfully so. I mean, like we talked about from a football aspect, this could really be a home run.
When's the last time they made a move like this?
I can't even compare it to Stephon Gilmore from a couple of years ago. It's on a different level. But
yes,
I remember
it's bigger
similar,
than Brandon Cooks.
For sure. I remember a similar type of response, I guess, to Stephon Gilmore because fans were really excited about Gilmore. But not like this. Not like this. This is different. The last time they made a trade, Amari Cooper, probably. It would have to be.
I mean, this is, and we have to remember, so many people love fantasy football, and it becomes a whole thing. They know who Pickens is. They've seen him or they know him. So it's like, okay, and Ed, same thing with you. How are your social?
I never checked.
You never checked.
See what people are saying about what
approach.
I post.
That's a good approach.
Ed, come on, Ed.
It's a great approach, actually.
Ed out here, Mister. I'm too good to call or write my fans.
Me and Skip, we don't follow anyone else. We only care about our own opinions. No, I would say that most people have reacted with enthusiasm about the fact that the Cowboys have finally done something. Do they ridicule Jerry as a matter of normal response as a general manager? Absolutely. But I think for the most part, people are excited that they've made a move of some consequence.
I'll say the approval rating of the Joneses right now is up. It is up.
It's higher than Nico Harrison's.
They're much higher.
Yes.
Would you rather have gotten McMillan in the first round of the draft and still had your third round pick next year? Or would you rather have Pickens and Booker?
I'm about Booker.
Booker is the reason I say yes on that one. Booker is the reason.
I mean, it's one thing to draft a player like that, but then when you see the kind of person he is on top of that, oh yeah, throw me that in the locker room all day long. And when you heard guys talk about how Booker was leading them during the rookie workouts here, stuff like that. So he's coming in here, and you had his college OC Bill O'Brien on, and he talked about how Bill told you before he got here he's going to go down there and be a leader. So give me someone like that, and a guy who comes out immediately at the press conference says, I'm looking forward to going up against Jalen Carter. So right, I think, hey man,
who's the best guy on the biggest rival in the league?
Who's the guy swinging the biggest stick? Let me go find that guy. Give me that prison mentality in here. Who's running the yard? Let me go find that guy. I'm all for it all day long. So yeah,
captain around here.
give me Booker and Pickens.
Yeah.
When you pose
I think the only criticism or the primary criticism of the Booker pick in the first round, beyond that he's not a tackle and it's not a value position, is you didn't address your number one concern, which was receiver, and now they have.
You've done that. So stay there, Ed. This number two concern was running back on a
they still need one
team that the head coach says he wants. So you're not satisfied. You don't like the room.
If they could still get Bryce Young, not Bryce Young.
Yo, Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. I would do that in a second for a reasonable price.
I think the most pressing need, in my opinion, now is one tech. I think you got to go address that one tech spot. Get you a veteran in there, just a veteran presence, in case Mozzie Smith continues to not work out.
Didn't they just draft 2 guys at that spot?
Yeah, in the 7th round.
Yeah, but they had a third round pick on one of them.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. King Basote, I think, will factor in more at the 3 tech spot, just given his size and ability. But Jay Toya, I think he has a legitimate chance to take Mozzie's job by the end of the season. If this is now or never for Mozzie Smith, it is. But I think throwing a veteran into that mix would certainly help.
Isn't that when they traditionally go see who's on the couch?
And one techs are typically the ones on the couch.
It's a horrible job, and the guy's already retired from it. You're going to bring him back at the end of the year with no camp, no off season.
I don't think Linval Joseph has had a camp since like 2014. That's not an exaggeration.
It's Cheetos, fishing every now and then, and what?
How much?
Is camp almost over?
How much do you weigh, Linval?
We'll work that out.
That's for me to know and you to find out.
Exactly. Jason Peters. I need to just kind of I need to work out a little bit on the side. Okay, so the running back room you're not satisfied with. So
I think they've got 2 third down specialists and no real number one running back. And if you're going to run the football like Brian Schottenheimer says is their priority, and that's what justifies the pick of Booker, then I think you got to get somebody at some point.
You see, giving up your 3
and your 5.
And the 5 is in
2027.
Yeah, 27. So 3 and 26, 5 and 27. So do you give up your annual 4th round pick for now?
You suffered through that 2 years in a row.
You're do it 3 years in a row. I'm telling you, I really want to see what Javonte Williams can do in camp. I do. I do, because I feel like running back is one of those positions that you can get and make a trade for in camp.
But the Broncos needed a running back after they traded him. So why would Sean Payton get rid of a running back if he needed a running back?
Everybody's got their own flavor, and he may not like Javonte. Just doesn't fit me. What I want. Coaches can be that way at times. And yes, we know Sean has done an outstanding job with running backs and has a Super Bowl, and he knows how to use combinations. He's very good. But I just got the feeling he just wasn't his cup of coffee. And he wanted to go get his cup of coffee, which he is Sean Payton and deserves every right. Say, hey, I want a guy like this that way. And
I'm just saying, if Sean Payton has looked at Javonte Williams and experienced him for 2 years and decided, after he led Denver in rushing both of those years, coming off the knee injury, if Sean Payton says, I need a better player, how does that make him a starter in Dallas for a team that wants to run the football?
I think it's a valid point. I think he's probably the leader in the clubhouse right now, though. If you're guessing who's rolling out there on the first drive in week 1, it's probably Javonte Williams. But Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa factor into this in a very fascinating way, too.
If you can get what you got out of Rico Dowdle.
But I'm not sure they have a runner like Dowdle. Who's the guy who's going to get the yards between the tackles and get the 5 and 6 yard runs?
You don't believe in Deuce Vaughn?
Deuce, another gadget player.
A couple Turpin sweeps here and there. Look, it's fast.
Jet sweeps.
You have another receiver to hand the ball off to.
I mean, this is the fascinating work that at this point in time of you got to look.
I mean, they know what they want their offense to look like. We don't, right? We haven't seen it yet. So we don't know. We just know that he has talked about wanting to run the ball and what he's wanted in a player at that position.
Miles Sanders.
And so far, I don't think it really fits the kinds of personnel he actually has.
I mean, but Parcells because you got some Jags, just a guy. They're just guys, and
they had that last year, and they got 6 touchdowns with just those guys.
They did, and Jerry said at the press conference he thought it was more the offensive line was the reason why they had those issues than therefore the running back. But Jerry basically said, in my opinion, hey man, we can throw anybody on back here because if we have a good line, they'll be okay.
I think the difference last year is they had a Jag. This year they have Jags. they have.
You know what? You're
multiple.
right. You're right,
and that can allow for some multiplicity in the run game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's got the hot hand. I mean, we saw Belichick and his offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels figure that out for a number of years. Here's James White at this point in time, and they went through. Why you got to bring?
He didn't have any
Why you got to bring
receivers
up
either,
facts,
but he won
Ed?
Super Bowls.
Why you got to bring up facts, Ed? The Hall of Fame quarterback, or Patrick Mahomes and his cast of dudes. So,
I don't know. I mean, he had Marshawn Lynch, and they led the league in rushing, and I don't think they have a running back who looks anything like that except the rookie that they took late.
Yeah, from a physicality standpoint.
Right, for the play style.
So there's still more work to do, potentially, because Jerry did talk
But this is big.
Yes.
I think Pickens is big. Solves a big problem, potentially.
Very, yeah.
And long term, he's only, 24, 25?
Just turned 24.
And I would say if you're a Cowboy fan, you wanted the wide receiver dress first. Running back, you figure it out. But the wide receiver, I thought, was the most important.
Yep.
And they've done that. They basically listen to what their fan base is saying. We got to see something.
And we've seen since the draft ended a lot of teams going out and signing wide receivers. And when Dallas wasn't involved in that, it made me think that Jerry was really going to follow through on what he said before the draft, that they did have some substantive discussions to acquire a receiver, and that's the way it played out.
Let me ask this question to both of you. Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, they're both still out there as free agents. Would you take a stab?
Knowing what they still need on this team, looking at their cap situation, I would go for some other needs first. And if Amari Cooper wants to come here for $5 million for a 1-year rental, have at it. But I don't think that'll be the price for him at the end of the day. Yeah,
I would be surprised if they're still looking at any of those veteran receivers, and both of them have had issues with either the front office or a member of the coaching staff. Because Keenan Allen played for a couple of the Cowboys assistant coaches when he was in Chicago.
What's going through Jonathan Mingo's head right now?
This is a good thing for Mingo. It is. It allows him to develop a little bit more without being thrust into a role that he probably would not have been ready for. I don't know if he knows it, but this is a good thing for Mingo, in my opinion.
I think it's a good thing for their entire room because it puts them athletically and in terms of talent in the order they should be in. Like Jalen Tolbert had his best season last year. He's fine as a 3 in my mind, right? Turpin can come in and contribute on occasion as a receiver, but doesn't have to make all the splash plays at the position that CeeDee Lamb doesn't make. So, yeah, I think their depth chart looks much better at wide receiver now.
Ryan Flanoy is probably the one that it doesn't benefit because he's probably the odd man out when you're looking at roster cuts at this juncture, at least.
He had a great camp last year. I was surprised he didn't contribute more during the regular season.
All right, give me your roster right now. If you had to just pick your guys
at receiver, obviously Lamb, Pickens, Turpin, Tolbert, Brooks. Those would probably be your 5. Because Brooks, I think, gives you more on special teams. That's the reason I take Brooks there.
Any chance you think they take 6?
They could. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. You would have to take away from probably the tight end room, I would have to imagine. Does Schottenheimer carry 4 tight ends? Maybe not. Maybe that's your extra guy. And then in that case, that's probably where Flanoy sneaks in.
Could they put one or two of those guys on a practice squad?
Oh, for sure. I think Flanoy would safely make it on a practice squad. Trayshawn Holden, of course, would safely make it on a practice squad. Brooks would as well. So, yeah, that could give you some flexibility. But once you're talking about Turpin, Mingo, those guys, definitely not. You wouldn't be able to save on a practice squad.
Yeah. Look, this is going to be interesting roster building and how they do it and what Brian Schottenheimer and his offensive coordinator, what they put together here. But they got a lot of help today. And I think that Pickens should feel real good that you're going to be we got a better quarterback and you got help on the other side. You could be looking some one-on-one coverage, man.
And he can beat one-on-one. And CD can play the slot where he's the most dynamic slot receiver in football, most productive slot receiver in football.
Cowboys got better today. Will we say that?
I do. I agree. Substantially better, potentially.
Okay. All right. So wide receiver position 1, 2. Cowboys feel good about. Cowboy fan feels good about it as I'm reading social media. What else needs to get done? We'll do that next with Ed Werder, Nick Harris. I'm Newy Scruggs. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Hey Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/cowboys to get started.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash coming to you from the Star in Frisco. Got Ed Werder, Nick Harris. I'm Newy Scruggs. All right, guys. Cowboys addressing the wide receiver position, making a trade for George Pickens. We just ran through the running back position here. What other work remains, Nick, for Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, and Will McClay?
I think they need to prepare for the health of the cornerback room to not be at 100% going into the season. A veteran addition there could certainly work. I don't know if trading for a guy makes the most sense, given that you've already spent some draft capital with what we've been talking about here today. But, if an opportunity presents itself, why not? But I think at the very least, go and get a veteran corner just to elevate the competition. I think they could use more numbers there. And then I mentioned the one tech spot, getting a veteran in that spot as well. Those would be the two biggest for me. Running back, I would if it were me, I would see what happens early on in camp. I would see what happens in the preseason. And if I'm the coaching staff and I feel like I need to go get another guy during camp, then I'll go do that and I'll go seek out that opportunity. But I'm going to let these four guys run and see if something comes about with it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Nick on the quarterback situation still being unresolved. Not only who's going to be healthy and when, but who's going to play where. Like who's going to be the slot corner. Now, maybe Matt Eberflus already knows all this as far as how they're going to start camp, but they do have some injuries they've got to work through and some young players that they've got to evaluate and get better than they were last year. But yeah, I think the cornerback situation's been kind of overlooked by the fans in general. I mean, I think the defense in general was a horrific part of their failure last year, and a lot of it was injuries, but they've made a lot of moves on defense in free agency and a few in the draft that could be really meaningful. But that was a really bad defensive football team last year.
I tell you what, we have a schedule release coming out next week. We'll know who the Cowboys are playing every single week of the season. If you look at those first four games and you see some big time passing threats, receiving threats, it wouldn't surprise me if this team makes it a little bit more urgent to go and get another corner, because you have to prepare for the event that Trayvon Diggs and or Savon Ravel are not ready to start the season.
I am curious to see if they end up with Philadelphia early on.
Jerry wants him week one, right?
In the first. I mean, look, it's
Jerry and his guy, Tyler Booker. They both want the Eagles.
So the way NBC has done this thing the past couple of years, the Cowboys have usually get the Cowboys in the first 3 weeks. Somehow, some way. They get them in. They will get them in. And it's a lot of times it's been the Giants, and the Giants, the past decade have been good enough that they could put that matchup on TV. But Philadelphia, Dallas, two big media markets, I could see it. And remember they did Tampa 2 years in a row, when Tampa was defending Super Bowl champs, and then the next year they did it again. So
they also like to save the big division games for late in the year.
So you get 3 NBC games, and the Cowboys are always playing one in September and playing one early. And because they missed the playoffs last year, the kind of trick I see how they work it is they try to get them in early so they don't get flexed. If they're a playoff team, I think they'll be a playoff team, then you'll see a November game. But if not, they'll try to get something September, October, and then try to maybe hit something again in, real.
You've got to see if Aaron Rodgers is playing first so they know how many times to put the Steelers on.
Ed, it's not a crazy thought, and they're going to be on one time, definitely for sure, on Sunday Night Football. But I'm pretty sure they've already got that game done, ready to go, and it's probably going to be a Cincinnati or a Baltimore game, some a divisional game. Right. Where if Aaron Rodgers isn't there, Burrow is there, Lamar Jackson, they got something to sell. They're pretty stealth in doing things like that. But I would definitely say look for the Cowboys here within the first 3 weeks on Sunday Night Football. Don't be surprised if it is Thursday at Philadelphia, and if it's not Thursday against Philly, it could be a Sunday game. Divisional. I mean, I'm thinking Washington and Philly. I mean, one of the two will be on Sunday Night Football. They're definitely going to do it. It's not going to be the Giants because the Giants have been bad this year, but bet your bottom dollar there will be a Sunday Night Football game between the Cowboys and either Philly or Washington.
So if it's Philly, do they have to go get a corner? Like we talked about Gilmore being out here when the Cowboys were having their draft press conference. That they've been in touch with him, in contact with him.
Yeah. It's a fascinating one. I say why not? Yeah, you can't have too much depth there. And I think Gilmore's at a point in his career where if and when Diggs and Revel do get healthy and they step in and are able to start, then Gilmore would probably take a back seat. But also, you could have Gilmore start and let Revel really ease into the situation and, not really have to call on him unless there's an injury A or until his second year B.
And wouldn't it be a bad idea to have him influencing your rookie?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was the next thing I was going to say. If there's a guy you want talking to people right there, it's a guy like Gilmore. And even a guy like Gilmore to talk to someone like Pickens.
Yeah.
To say, hey, look, how to be a professional, how to prolong your career, because we all saw how much respect he garnered. I mean, even the way Diggs was talking about changing his diet, and usually, your young guys wait till later on, but he just saw what
I can attest to that. Yeah.
Hey, look, man, whatever it takes. But I'm big on that. That's just me. That's just my personal.
I'm waiting till later on to adjust my diet.
Ed, you look beautiful. So when you do, you're gonna look like Adonis. You're looking great right now. Does Gilmore live around here?
I am unsure.
Okay.
I am unsure. I do know that visit to the Star that we saw that day, there's a lot of businesses that are on that side of the Star, and that's what that was in relation to.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah. No.
I say bring him in again for a real visit. We'll see.
Hey, look, I'm a fan of the play when they talk about culture and talk about that. That's what you want.
Professionalism, the epitome of that.
Yes, and I like the idea of what you're saying. Okay, hey, Diggs, Revel, maybe not ready to go. Put Gilmore in here, get him going, and then, all right, we kind of lessen the reps a little bit and keep him a little bit fresher during the year because 17 games.
They start 7 or 8 corners last year, right? I mean, that's how many corners you need from recent experience.
Dude, they're like starting pitchers in baseball. You can't have enough of them. You just can't have enough of them. So,
and he's an older guy, but he played well for you, and he started 15 games in Minnesota last year.
Yeah.
In a division where they got some really good receivers. There's some real good receivers in this league, and you got 2 good quarterbacks, a Rookie of the Year and a Super Bowl MVP. So I would bring in Gilmore for $5 million before I'd pay Cooper $5 million to be a receiver.
I agree.
Yep.
I would do that and look that way. But they are in a position right now that they're better than they were this offseason, in my opinion. It's better than what last year's offseason was. I think last year they kind of lied to themselves a little bit. Well, they lied to themselves a lot.
Yeah.
They lied to themselves a lot. They didn't do that this offseason. And so I look at what they've done here and I say, okay, these are some positives and we'll see what else they can do.
Well, what did we say when they hired Brian Schottenheimer was, okay, you're taking a risk hiring. You're the only team that's hiring from within, promoting from within at the head coaching position. You just fired a coach who won 12 games 3 years in a row. You got to back this decision up. You got to give him a chance to succeed.
Help him.
And it seems like they've taken that approach.
I think I wrote a column the day of Schottenheimer's introductory press conference, and the headline was literally, yes, they are taking a risk in hiring Brian Schottenheimer. They are going to have to take more for him to succeed. And I would say that they've done that so far this offseason.
If you write the headlines?
I do. And I'm
one writer in America who writes headlines.
I do. It's fun.
You send a little recommendation there. If you're McCarthy, are you ticked off? You're like, look at all this.
Oh, yeah. I'm pissed off. I'll say it.
Now you got moved, Jerry. Look, they buried me.
Yeah.
They're giving this guy all his help.
They did nothing to help me coming off a 12-win season.
Yeah, they just
keep
said,
my job.
Yeah. Sink or swim, and he sank. So
and now I'm out of the whole league again.
Back on TV though, he did some decent draft work.
Lost his quarterback twice in 5 years.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. But man.
Also, I will throw out there though that I think Schottenheimer is using his influence a lot more than McCarthy did. In the roster construction standpoint of things. Did the front office do him any favors? Absolutely not. But I think Schottenheimer is using this influence that he has as the head man in this building a little bit more than McCarthy did.
And every time he speaks publicly, I think you get a sense of how he talked Jerry into making the change and selecting him.
Look, we've been on, no offense, Nick, you're a youngin'. We love you.
Yeah, I respect
We've seen a couple of these guys around here. We've seen a few of these coaches around here.
That's why you can't buy in until the field happens, until they get on the field.
From a presence standpoint, we haven't had a head coach with this much presence since Bill Parcells. Campo wasn't like that. Jason wasn't like that. And McCarthy wasn't. Those last three guys, you're kind of like, eh.
Somebody told me this week out here, says, he reminds me a lot of Jason Garrett, only he's tougher. And he said himself at his press conference, right? I don't have a problem with disciplining players. I can discipline players.
Good.
He's got one. He's going to discipline.
He can start with.
He's going to get his first task.
Well, when he talks about he's about relationships, so clearly he's going to have to develop a relationship with Pickens, wide receiver, because in court, I mean, they're all going to have to put in and pour in here and just find out what makes you tick.
You even look back at it. I saw a clip of a play when he was with Georgia. And it was the same thing. He's fighting some guy on the field, an opponent from Tennessee on the field, grabbing him by the face mask, throwing him down the ground. I mean, the guy's constantly on the border of being ejected.
Man, Antonio Brown, as I was telling you, Antonio Brown just came back into my mind of just, here was a guy who had talent and was his own worst enemy in not achieving that talent. And, eventually went from here to San Fran and was out of the league. And, people forget he wore the 88.
That is also goes for Antonio Brown, who, when he left Pittsburgh, I don't think we realized that the issues that he had in Pittsburgh were only the tip of the iceberg, because then he goes to New England, he goes to Tampa, and those problems just explode. You hope history doesn't tell us that that's going to happen with another Pittsburgh receiver, where he gets out of Pittsburgh and you realize, like, damn, Pittsburgh was really holding this guy.
They really managed him.
Yeah, they actually managed him really well.
But Mike Tomlin's managed some dudes. He's managed some interesting characters there at Pittsburgh, man. And to see them leave. A lot of the guys, especially from a receiver standpoint, remember Mike Wallace was the guy before Antonio Brown turns down the contract and they get rid of him and they give that money to Antonio Brown and becomes a star. But yeah, he's dealt with that. And then early on when Roethlisberger was dealing with all his issues and Tomlin.
Le'Veon Bell.
I mean.
Yeah. Gosh, he's had a lot of them.
Yeah, like I said, man.
Aaron Rodgers, here we go.
If there's a dude made for Aaron Rodgers, it's Tomlin. And you think about, Antonio Brown put together a Hall of Fame career. I don't think he's getting in, but he put together a resume that they should probably have to debate. And you would know best. You may have to debate about it. Roethlisberger, they will have to debate about it. And Bell basically shot his career all up. Everybody who left there, who wanted out of there, you never saw them reach that level again like they did in Pittsburgh, which is kind of one thing concern for me. It's like, there's two people I don't know if you want them trading with you. It's Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid. They're not giving away the good stuff.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah. They usually are on the winning side of these deals.
History would throw a red flag, 100%.
The red challenge flag is out on George Pickens.
Yeah, if you say, hey, some disgruntled receivers who've left Pittsburgh, how's that worked out? Hasn't worked out. That came into my mind. But this is the work to me of what Brian Schottenheimer has to do as a head coach.
Antonio Brown, Martavius Bryant, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and now George Pickens, all traded. Receivers traded by the Steelers.
We see how Deontay Johnson has become a headache as well since leaving Pittsburgh.
Deontay Johnson. Martavius Bryant came down here for a half a second and didn't work out.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a good one, Ed. Yeah.
That's a tough list to be a part of. That is a tough list to be a part of.
Bring it down, Ed. But
George
the
Pickens
truth?
can change the narrative on failed Steeler receivers that Mike Tomlin rejects.
One difference is he's a lot younger, and he's still on his rookie deal. And I don't think this was Pittsburgh giving up on Pickens. I think this was Pittsburgh wanting to move off of Pickens. I think there's a difference there because they got DK Metcalf. They got their outside guy, and they bring in Robert Woods, and they're expecting.
And DK Metcalf's not been easy to manage either, and they chose him over and the money over this guy.
And they're expecting a year 2 jump from Roman Wilson as well. So I think it just made sense for them to move off with the impending headache that was coming this offseason.
Tomlin keep asking for it, doesn't he? Metcalf and Rodgers. Oof.
Toughest battles to the strongest soldiers.
Oof. Oof. In that division where seemingly the Ravens got a lot better in the draft. So, all right. So as we get ready to shut down the show here, did the Cowboys gain ground on Philly and Washington, Ed? Yes or no?
With this one move?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The overall offseason? I don't know about Washington.
Washington's made some moves.
And Philly, you could say maybe because Philly was so far in front of them based on the scores last year and based on what they did in the postseason. But they lost, 5 or 6 key defensive players. Now they lost some the year before, too, and they overcame it. But there's a reason they drafted 5 defensive players at the start of the draft this year.
Washington addressed their left tackle.
Got a receiver.
And they
got another tackle.
So, I mean, I look at what Washington's done, and I say, you know, they're doing the right stuff, which I think kind of put the Cowboys in that position. They had to make this trade. You had to do something because you're watching the 2 teams ahead of you make moves.
Don't forget about the Giants. They're making up ground too.
You know what? Their defense is definitely good. The quarterback still scares me.
Yeah, absolutely, as it should.
And if you can't get that right, good luck in this division.
Yeah.
With the kinds of defensive players in this division. So that's why I look at the Giants. I'm like, you know, they might be able to win some games, but outside this division, and then having to go up against the AFC West is going to be tough too. But they can win some games, but man, it's going to be tough sledding because this thing keeps getting better and better from a defensive standpoint in this division. You got some really good football players and some doggone. I mean, you think about some of the coordinators in this division. Man.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, got some really good defensive coordinators in this thing. Ed Werder, man.
Thank you, sir.
Nick Harris, appreciate you. Newy Scruggs, Chris Beam, man, Joshy back there. Jazzy's gone. So Jazz, good luck to you wherever you're out there. We appreciate it rolling with you.
I think she's in Puerto Rico. I saw her in Puerto Rico over the weekend, so she living it up,
living her best life.
You don't mean you were also in Puerto Rico?
No.
Ran into
just
her. Okay.
On the social media cesspool that I engage with way too much.
Yeah. I saw a couple.
You shut them down last night.
Yeah. You.
I was wondering if I should reach out to some Steelers people when I was starting hearing this. Then I read Nick saying, it's not happening. Leave me alone.
I was trying to watch the Warriors game. I'm a big Jimmy Butler guy. We might learn this over the course of time. I was just trying to watch the game, and I had heard 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we've talked about this. Talks of stalled. And I'm like, it's not happening, guys. Just let me watch the game. And then, sure enough, I get a phone call about 11:30 at night, and here we are.
Live and learn.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
We still read you no matter what.
Hey, I appreciate you.
We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!